And we welcome you to this edition of In the Circle, live following Game 1 of the National Championship Series between the Texas Tech Red Raiders and the Texas Longhorns, one that's going to be remembered for a lot of reasons in a long time. I'm Eric Lopez alongside Victor Anderson, but more importantly, folks, our special guest who's going to be our analyst for tonight. She is the D1Softball and All-American and D1Softball's Mid-Major Player of the Year, Allison Benning, joining us here live, which is a good thing because she's one of the few people on the planet that knows what it's like to what transpired in the bottom of the sixth, which we'll talk shortly. But hello, Allison. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. We got a lot to get to. Victor, tell the audience what's coming up here tonight here in the show and where people can find us.
Well, of course, you can find us on your favorite social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like button, turn on the notifications. That way you don't miss any of our live shows. We'll be going on live tonight, going on live tomorrow night. And if we have anything what happens tonight, we may be live Friday night. Who knows? Find out about that. Follow us on D1Softball. Use promo code WCWS2025. 20% off of your annual subscription to D1Softball.com. Of course, check out the D1 Softball Bracket Challenge. How many of you had Texas and Texas Tech in your bracket? We will find out shortly. Go to bracket-challenge.d1softball.com for all the information there. And of course, go to D1Baseball.com to see which teams are still on the road to Omaha. But Mr. Lopez, we have a very distinguished guest with us. And what the heck happened in the sixth inning?
Well, what happened? A lot of stuff happened in this game, from obstruction that was called, that wasn't obstruction. I looked for a long time. That was going to be the focus of this, and it still will be discussed. But then one of the more bizarre ways, Texas wins game 1, 2-1, on a 2-out, 2 RBI hit by Reese Atwood off Nyjah Kennedy while she's trying to be intentionally walked on a 3-0 count. Thankfully, we have a person on this show that's gone through this experience, and it ain't me and it ain't Victor. So thankfully, Allison, boy, destiny was meant to be on this show with this type of game. So let's get to that right away. Take me what you're thinking as you're watching that play, because this has happened to you. Teams have tried, and there was earlier this year, teams actually were trying to intentionally walk you, but they threw a strike. You took advantage and took it deep. You've obviously, of course, a two-way star player. Go ahead. What's as you call yourself now?
Well, they call me Benny Otani, Benny Softball.
Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, just in case y'all want proof of what she speaks, let's see. Hitting numbers, let's see. 14, 19 home runs, 50 driven in, 876 slugging percentage, ASUN player of the year. And let's see, pitching-wise, 25 wins, 1.68 ERA, 179 strikeouts, ASUN pitcher of the year. Eric, think about this. She is one of 2 players in all of college softball to win player of the year and pitcher of the year in the conference. The other one being Jordy Ball. I mean, we dubbed her Benny Softball this morning when we announced that she was going to be on the show. So, Allison, you have full license and blessing to use that moniker however you
and rightfully so. You've earned that. You've earned that a lot. But you can relate to both sides of the ball, and that's what's going to be so fun about this show is you're going to be able to give us the perspective on both sides. But let's go right to that 6th inning, that Reese Atwood at bat. They're trying to intentionally walk her. You could tell Nyjah was just not comfortable. Like, it sounds bizarre, but she's having trouble throwing the ball. Like, ball's outside. Like there was a ball there early in that pitch that I thought was close to a strike. Take me what you saw there, because you've experienced this.
Yeah, so definitely as a pitcher, we're taught to throw strikes. They want us to hit our spots, hit the corners, keep it low in the zone. So you're definitely not trying to throw balls out of the strike zone. So a lot of times what happens is coaches will have you work on intentional walks. And, in high school, they just say, oh, we're going to put her on, like, just let her get to first. But in college, obviously, you have to do the intentional walk. You have to perform it. You have to throw the 4 balls. So I think as a pitcher, it's hard, especially when your catcher is standing up. If you miss the ball low in the zone, they're not going to be able to catch it. So I think it's definitely a nerve. It's also a nerve-wracking situation. You have two runners on. It was, I believe, the bottom of the sixth inning. So
Right. Well, and how much of that fact, how much do you think in Nija's head was the fact there was a runner at third base that played a role in that?
I mean, she's definitely a very confident pitcher. I think it would be in the back of anyone's head, honestly. As a pitcher, I know I would be sweating a little bit, but I think obviously at the biggest stage of college softball, you're going to be a little nervous in any situation. So I think it was just one of those things where you don't really work on it a lot, and it's not something. I mean, the broadcaster said it was her first intentional walk of the year, so it's not something she's really used to doing. So from that respect, it definitely is hard as a pitcher to intentionally walk hitters. It's harder than people think.
No, that's a great point. That's a great stat, right? That Nija's not used to. I mean, why would you walk anybody? It's Nija Kennedy. He's the best pitcher in the sport. You're not going to be worried about facing anybody. What did you think of that decision that they wanted to intentionally walk Reese Atwood? I mean, she had not had a hit in the entire World Series. On the other hand, she is the greatest hitter in Texas softball history. If that was you, would you have wanted to pitch to Atwood, or would you have been careful? Would you have agreed with maybe intentionally walking her there? Because I'm sure maybe there was a part of Nija that wanted to face, like, why do I have to walk her type of deal? But at the same time, I understand Coach Glasgow's perspective of this is the most dangerous hitter in Texas's lineup. Her resume speaks for itself.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the same thing. Like as a pitcher, you don't really want to intentionally walk anybody. That's just the competitor in Nigeria Kennedy. Same with me. I don't ever want to intentionally put someone on base. That's just the competitor in me. But I think Coach Glasgow made the right decision, honestly, it was the right decision to intentionally walk her, or at least attempt to. She is the best hitter in Texas's lineup. Julie Mitchell, I think, was over 2 with a strikeout. So, and Reese Atwood put a really good swing on her in her first at bat of the game. It was a line out to center, but I thought she was seeing her well. So, and obviously her track record, like you said, it speaks for herself. So I think logistically it was probably the right decision. Obviously, it didn't play out the way Coach Glasgow or anyone on the Texas Tech side wanted it to, but it was definitely the right move.
Well, and now let's talk from Reese Atwood's perspective, because like I said, this happened to you earlier this year. They were trying to walk you. They made a mistake. They threw one down the pipe. You swung and you crushed it.
Mhm.
But I got to give you guys credit, because that takes a lot of guts, because you're basically getting a free base, right? And first of all, you got to stay focused, right? It's part of it. But then you also understand, if you swing and let's say she swings and pops up, people are going to be like, why are you swinging? They're trying to walk her. So this is a gutsy situation. You can relate to what she's going through. Take me through her mindset there at the plate. Are you talking to your coaches? Has this been discussed where, hey, just, you're allowed to swing? Like, give me all the thinking here, as you're being intentionally walked.
So, and obviously I'm not Reese Atwood, so I can't speak for what she exactly is thinking, but if I'm Reese Atwood in that situation, I would be ready for a strike. I think, especially in that type of situation, you always want to be focused for a strike. That's something my dad talked to me about before the season started. I think I mentioned it when I did one of my interviews with you earlier in the year was, hey, even if they're intentionally walking you, like sticking their arm out, she might throw a strike down the middle. So just be ready for it. So I think Reese Atwood did a really good job of staying focused because she already had 3 balls on her. And she knew Nigeria Kennedy threw one that was actually really close to the strike zone. It was over the plate. So I think she, in her head, was ready. She was like, if she misses, she was gonna attack it, and obviously that's what she did. Gave Texas the win. So it was just a great at bat on Reese Atwood's part.
How much do you think did Reese notice that Nija was struck? Do you think she knew, right? That she had to know, right? She see all the pitches. Oh, she's kind of a little too close to the zone here. Do you think that helped her in that regard to be ready?
I definitely do. I think when you're in the box, you can see like what the pitcher is trying to do, and obviously she knew she was being intentionally walked. But I think once she saw that I think it was either the first or second pitch was over the heart of the plate, just a little bit high out of the zone. I think she knew, oh, if she might miss here, so just be ready for it.
It's unbelievable, Victor.
But the thing that stunned me Betty, about this whole situation was that how Texas needed to get into the situation because in the 5th inning, Atwood apparently throws out the runner. For whatever reason, they decide to go to replay and call obstruction.
Well, the reason they went to replay is because Texas Tech challenged it.
The Texas Tech challenged it.
Okay.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, it got ruled obstruction, which at this point, Eric and I are going to talk to the NCAA Rules Committee, and we're going to implement a red carpet rule where if you get a great jump, a red carpet will be rolled out for you in front of the respective base path, because what else are you supposed to do as a baseman? What else are you supposed to do as a shortstop?
Yeah, Allison, you tell me. You've played. Take me through that play, because you got upset too. You were upset on social. Everybody was upset on social media. In fairness, everybody got, which I felt happy about for a change. It wasn't just me. Like, I just sat back and just like, all right, this feels good. Finally, everybody's on my side. Now you understand what I'm coming from. But take me through that as you're watching that play, because you obviously. I mean, again, and you all have to figure out what the rules are being applied and all that stuff. What did you see from your vantage point?
I think it makes it a lot harder on an infielder or a catcher in that situation because, like, obviously I'm not an infielder, I'm a pitcher, so I just watch the play. But I think if they're having to worry about where their feet are placed, like, they're not gonna make the play. So I think obstruction as a rule, I think it was in good intention, like, to prevent collisions and injuries, but I think the obstruction rule has obviously been taken too far. I think this happened a couple of times already and against Ole Miss and against UCLA, and I think that obstruction is just honestly, like, it's getting people upset, and and
Well, think about this. What if Texas Tech wins this game 1-0?
yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, I know I would have been upset if I was a Texas fan. I mean, I know a lot of people on social media were riled up. I know Jen Schroeder was riled up about that. So, and honestly, I get
Karen
it,
Weekly.
you know?
I think she's had enough of these World Series.
Issues with umpiring, as we've been well documented in this World Series.
But it's got to be frustrating because to me, Allison, I don't. But see, everybody's ripping the rule itself, and that's fine. I got no issues with that. But I think the problem here, it wasn't applied correctly. Like, I don't know what they're talking about, the path. What are we, like a toe? You're like criticizing the toe of Leanne Good? Like, are we really nitpicking here? They're like, the toe is going to be the, like, what did I miss here?
I know they mentioned something like any part of her foot can't be blocking the leading edge of the base, which I think in that respect, they got it right. But at the same time, like, it's her toe. She's not completely blocking the base. And there's been times like, I know my junior year we played at Arizona State, there was obvious obstruction and they didn't call it. So I'm like, I feel like it's a rule that is very subjective and it's up to the umpires and the reviewing crew. And I think sometimes it gets applied correctly, but most of the time it doesn't. So I think the rule definitely needs to be revisited this offseason to get it right across the board.
I don't know, Victor. I don't know if you have your props there and have a standing ovation.
Wait.
Give her a standing ovation. That is the best explanation.
I mean, oh my goodness.
Thank you. You deserve that. We need to clip that forever, Victor, because that's the best explanation I've ever heard.
We can make that happen.
We need to hire. I think that softball needs to hire you to be the rules analyst and be on ESPN, actually, because clearly the one they're using doesn't know any of that stuff. Which takes us to the 7th inning. All right, because just when we thought it shouldn't get weirder, it got weirder.
Mm-hmm.
So they get a strikeout. Texas Tech has a runner at first. They steal second.
Mm-hmm.
But then the umpire, they're just talking, and you could tell they're talking to the base runner, and you know it's something to do with her because you could tell she's getting a little like, what? Like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. So then they roll umpire interference. They say umpire interference, and you're going back to first base, but then Texas is challenging whether it was batter interference. First of all, have you ever heard of a, quote, umpire interference, Alice?
I cannot say that I have. That's the first I've seen. I know sometimes like the ball hits the field umpires and they're technically live. So if it hits off of the field umpire, it's a live ball, but I've never heard of an umpire interference from behind the plate. So I can't really say that that's happened. I know I have been a part of a game where a batter interference has happened. We were playing JU and the girl lunged forward like through her swing and she stepped in front of the plate and our catcher was trying to throw it down and she was called for batter's interference, which that was a first time for me at that point. So definitely some crazy things happening tonight.
Like, but did you think that was batter interference? They reviewed it. They said no, it wasn't. But then they still sent the runner back to first because of the umpire interference, which I've never. And I've been covering the sport for since 2007. Victor, you go way longer than me. Have you ever heard of an umpire interference call?
No. No.
That's incredible.
No.
So between us, Allison, how many years now have you been playing? How old did you start playing softball?
I started playing when I was 7. So
between the three of us, we've been around this sport,
we've seen a
playing
lot
the
of
sport
softball in our day,
and none of us has ever seen an umpire interference call.
No. And honestly, too, like we didn't talk about the catcher's interference that happened. I haven't seen a catcher's interference in quite a while, too.
They called one earlier in the game on Reese.
That happened in the first inning, which it didn't impact the result of the game at all, but it still, like, there was a lot of wacky stuff happening tonight.
Yeah, the umpires clearly wanted to make a lot of calls today for whatever reason. They just wanted to be part of the show. So,
actually, Eric, I saw a perfect tweet about this. The umpiring in the World Series is kind of like a party you get invited to. You're not the star of the party. You're just a part of the party. Someone give the umpires the memo between now and game 2 tomorrow night. Please and thank you. I mean, goodness
I saw a funny tweet that said the NCAA umpiring is never beating the allegations. I don't remember who tweeted it, but it was really funny. And I'm like, I have no part. I am Switzerland about umpires. They do, a lot of them are great. Some of them, I don't know, but I say Switzerland about umpires.
Some of them are good, and some of this is not their fault. Because I think a lot of these rules are too much interpretation, too complicated. That was my issue with the Sunday call, with the whole appendix ruling about, the whole plate. Like I'm like, that's like, why are we there's too many complications on that. But at the same time, I thought the umpires tonight were out of control. I just there was, but that's much. But I don't. What's unfortunate about this, because I like both teams. So I don't really care like who wins personally. Like I like both sides. I'm excited. We have a new national champion, and I hate the fact that we've spent the first 15 minutes talking about the umpire, but we have no choice on this. And what we should have been talking about is the fantastic pitching from Tegan Kavan and Nyjah Kennedy. So let's talk a little bit about that, because me and Vic have plenty of time later in the show to go off for the umpire. But we're in a great mood. We have a GOAT here on the show, the greatest North Florida athlete of all time.
Gosh.
Hey, pro softball. Hey, she can play. Just saying. We'll get to that later, what you're up to. But give me your thoughts on Tegan Kavan and Nyjah Kennedy. They had an incredible game in Valentine's night that, to me, was one of the best regular season pitching duels. And tonight, I thought both were fantastic. If it wasn't for some weirdness, we might still be playing right now. So give me your thoughts on both of them.
I mean, obviously, they're both two of the best pitchers in our game right now. I think both Kavan and Kennedy are just great pitchers. They have so many tools that they can use. They've been at this stage before. Both have been at the World Series at least twice. Kennedy obviously 3 times, Kavan twice as a sophomore. So, I mean, it was just a pitcher's duel, and I think we all expected it to be a pitcher's duel. Obviously, Nyjah Kennedy, probably arguably the best pitcher in our game. Kavan is another one that's definitely right up there with her. So I thought both pitchers did a great job. I know, for at least if I was Nyjah Kennedy, I'd be upset about that. But you have to remember, she pitched outstanding up until that point. And it was honestly just one pitch that changed the entire outcome of the game. So it's hard to remember that as a pitcher when you take a loss like that it is just one pitch, but that you did so well the rest of the game and gave your team a chance to win. That's really all you can ask of her to do.
How do you put that behind you as a pitcher? Because she's got to come back tomorrow. I would assume she's going to get the ball tomorrow with the season on the line. How do you put that behind you so quickly with a game tomorrow?
I think it's just having a short-term memory. She's obviously very confident in herself, and I think that is what's going to help her bounce back tomorrow. you have to realize, okay, you made one pitch that determined the outcome of the game, but that's not it's not going to define who you are as a pitcher. It's not going to define how you think of yourself. I think you have to come back, you still have life. You still have one game, at least one game left to play. So I think you just have to have short-term memory, flush it down the toilet, and just be ready to go tomorrow.
Let's not lose fact, by the way, in that inning, the hit by Mia Scott on the changeup, Allison, which I want you to break down because she literally came to a stop. Like she was fooled on the changeup, but she kept her discipline and was able to poke the ball into the infield to draw the infield hit, which was incredible, which gave the opportunity for Reese Atwood to come to the plate. And then I believe, who was it? Was it Henry Victor before that got on after prior to Scott? So they had two because they hadn't gotten a hit off of her in a while. I mean, that's why everybody was upset about the obstructions. You're thinking, oh my God, with Nyjah, this could be a wrap. 1-0 the way this whole. And by the way, this is the first time this entire postseason that Texas Tech has trailed.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? They came in the bottom of the sixth.
It's absurd. I know they said they've been in front 24 times in a row where they scored first, which obviously very impressive. So I think, Mia Scott is a great player. Playing on a torn ACL is just absurd to me. I don't know how someone can do that. I think that's she's a senior. She's tough. She wants to, give it all she's got for her team, which I commend her for that. I have so much respect for that. She's a great hitter. Nyjah Kennedy made a great pitch, but great hitters hit good pitches, and she's just fast enough where she beat it through the infield. Now, if it was me up to bat, I wouldn't have beat it out. So the fact that it was Mia Scott made it a little bit easier for her to get the infield hit.
No, listen, Mia Scott's had an incredible World Series and is starting to get her recognition. Who's probably been, I spoke to Mike White, the Texas head coach, at some point during this postseason run. I've literally covered them since the regionals. So I don't remember which game it was, but I remember talking about her and how she's so rated, and that, he believes she should be playing pro ball, but she chooses not to. She doesn't want to play pro ball. She wants to get a job and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if the injury plays a factor into that, to your point, which is kind of wild. We didn't know about that until they said it on the broadcast, but that hit should not go get lost because that was that was impressive bat handle. Al, how do you control your bat like that in a situation like that?
I think it was pure instinct, honestly. I think, like I said, great hitters hit great pitches. I think she obviously, like one of the replay, she was way on her front foot, but I think she recognized it in time to where she could hold up. And obviously, I think she used to slap. I don't know if she slaps much anymore, but being a slapper, having that background definitely probably helped her. But that's a pitcher's worst nightmare, is those infield singles. I know for me as a pitcher, those were the worst things ever. Those little infield bloopers into the grass, infield singles were the worst. So I think with 2 outs too, it was just impressive.
Impressive rally, and they find a way to win. And look, I picked Texas to win this series only because of experience. And I feel like they're experienced because they played in it last year. And I felt that helped them in this situation because, Alice, you can speak to this. That was a punch gun with the whole controversy with the obstruction. You could tell they were literally upset. Leanne Good basically told them that call was a bunch of baloney, and we'll just, it was.
It started with a B.
It was a B. But they regrouped and they found a way to make a rally against the best pitcher in the country. Talk about that and being able to, as a team, when something goes against you, like what they went through in that 5th inning, to go put that behind you and find a way to win a game that maybe you feel you're not getting a fair shake.
I think it just comes down to having good leadership. I think in the broadcast they said Mike White and Coach Singleton were telling them, hey, get back in the game. We still have life left. So I think that they relied on their leadership to really push through. Obviously, Mia Scott, a senior, Reese Atwood, a junior, getting the rally going. So I think it was a lot about leadership and just having fight. Honestly, in situations like that, it's really tough to come back from that. Obviously, you think, oh, it's not going my way. Like what can I do to like win this game? But you just have to keep plugging away, and obviously they did a great job of that, and that's what got them the win. Honestly, even beyond Reese Atwood's hit is just how they fought in that bottom of the sixth.
And now you're Texas. You have the 1-game lead. You could afford to pitch Mac Morgan in game 2 because she has pitched. She was the reason she got them to the Champ Series with her pitching performance versus Tennessee. So now if you're Texas, you can pitch Mac Morgan. And if you need to bring in Kavan to close things out tomorrow night, she's going to be properly rested. While you're Texas Tech, you're going to have to pitch Nyjah again to keep your season alive to force a game 3 on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle that situation from a Texas perspective, knowing that you're 1 win away from winning that national championship?
Yeah, I think, like you said, Texas has really good pitching depth with Mac Morgan, also Citlali Gutierrez. She's another good pitcher that they have. I think what you said is what they should do. Try to bring in Mac Morgan, get a couple good innings out of her, 3, 4 good innings. See if we can, and once they get a lead, maybe bring Kavan back in. But I think obviously for Texas Tech, it's going to be tough because Nyjah Kennedy is it, and they're going to go ride her. They've rode her all postseason. So what I don't think that's going to change now. So I think Texas definitely has an advantage going into tomorrow.
How much of a big deal is that from a pitcher standpoint, going back-to-back days? Is it a big, like, do you have concerns? Like, if, like, you, Tegan Kavan, you want her to give it the rest? Just talk about that, because that's going to be part of the chess match here. If you're Texas, you have the upper hand. Do you start Mac Morgan? Do you start Kavan? When do you bring Kavan in game 2? No, you have a game to play with. But on the other hand, you know, you also got Nyjah Kennedy on the other side. So how do you expect to, what do you see both teams doing here between now and game 2?
Well, I could see it going either way. I know for me, I would want to decide this in 2 games. So in order to do that, probably the best idea is to use your best pitcher once again. But I think Texas, they've run through Nyjah Kennedy. They've seen her at least 3 times 3 times in this game. So they're definitely familiar with her. They also saw her earlier in the season. So I think that's gonna hopefully give them a leg up. If they score, maybe they get a big enough cushion where they bring in Mac Morgan. I could see them doing it the other way around. They have Kavan, they get that lead, maybe a couple runs, they score like 2 runs, and then they let Mac Morgan take it over. Because Mac Morgan's a good pitcher and she's a different look from Kavan. So I think she is a good option for them as well. So obviously if you're Tech, you gotta use your best pitcher with the season on the line. So I think they're just gonna ride Nyjah Kennedy. Maybe if in some magic happens and they score like 5 runs, they can bring in another pitcher, Chloe Riasetto.
Well, that's been an issue. Texas Tech, I believe, has only scored 8 runs in this World Series. Now, you know, so and I've said this, like, they've put a lot of pressure on Nyjah. I mean, you know this. I mean, as an ace, that's part of the job. But they've scored 8 runs. So from what you've seen from Texas Tech in this World Series, what do they got to do to get some offense going here in game 2 to at least give Nyjah some breathing room? Because in fairness to her, I mean, she only had a 1-0 lead there in the 6th inning there. What are you seeing from the Texas Tech? What do they got to do to adjust here?
I mean, it's like you said. That's why I kind of said magic, because they haven't really scored much, and they haven't needed to. Obviously, with Kennedy being as dominant as she has been. So I think for Texas Tech, they got their backs up against the wall. They just gotta find any way to score. I think they didn't really use the short game, and maybe that's something that they implement in the next game. You know, they gotta put runners in scoring position. As we saw, obviously, with the 5th inning antics, you put a runner in scoring position, and they're gonna find a way to get her across. So I think you gotta figure out, okay, how am I gonna get this runner, push her in a scoring position, hopefully give us a chance to score a couple of runs. So I think they gotta shake it up a little bit, maybe do some small ball, I know Reese Atwood definitely threw out that runner, so I don't know if you test the arm of Reese Atwood, especially in a tight ball game, but they gotta figure out a way to get runners in scoring position.
Got to get Maya Davis on base.
Mm-hmm.
She's I mean, she was the difference maker in the Oklahoma game. She got her first hit in that 7th inning to set the stage for that walk-off sac fly. She's their best base runner, scored there, but she's got to get on base. What do you want to see from Texas against Niger?
I mean, Niger Kennedy is, like I said, she is probably the best pitcher in our game right now. I think, obviously, as a hitter, it is so hard to lay off of that rise ball. It has like a 39% chase rate for a reason. It is extremely good pitch. I think they got to figure out a way to sit for a lower pitch, whether it be her screwball that she's been throwing, a changeup, or they got to pick one speed to hit. They got to either sit changeup or just take changeups. Obviously, that's way easier said than done if you're a Texas batter, but I think Mike White and Steve Singleton are going to come up with the game plan for them. It's going to hopefully help them out. But I think that they've got to pick one pitch to focus on and hammer.
We've covered a lot here, Victor. Isn't she amazing or what?
Now we've talked enough about the game. We'll get back to it later on, but let's talk about your season. It's fitting here that she's wearing the championship shirt.
As she should. Oh, man.
Now, Benny.
Hey, Conrad, I know you're watching the show. Can we get some gear? We've been the UNF, podcast over here all year. I'm just, Vic, we're just saying. Shout out Richard. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Shout out Richard Miller, by the way. But of course, a lot of people don't know. Last year, you played in the championship versus Florida Gulf Coast, lost in a walk-off, came in short. I'm sure that was the motivation for you and this senior class this year to kind of finish what you started. And following you guys throughout the season, it almost felt like you were not going to stop until you're holding that ASUN championship trophy at the end. Was that kind of the message and that theme when you were going through the ballpark throughout the season? Like, we're not finishing until we get that final win?
It's funny you word it like that because our motto this year was FTFJ, which was finish a freaking job. And obviously the job was win an ASUN championship, win the ASUN tournament, go to a regional. So I think all off season, that was our focus. I think all of us were on the same page with that, which was definitely what got us there. We all worked really hard. We all got better in the off season. I think we came into the fall in a much better place than we were last year. So that was definitely a good thing to see. And obviously, like, we had that bad taste in our mouths and we talked about it a lot. We talked about it all the time until I got sick and tired of hearing it, So I think it was definitely a big deal for us. And, we just kept fighting through, wanting to hold that trophy, and that's what we did.
My bad. I know I asked her about that when she came on the podcast. My bad.
What's you there? You're an instigator.
No, I'm just no, but I remember talking to Coach Conrad even before the season. That was the motivation from day one. What made this team so special that was able to get over the hump? What was it?
I think we had a lot more depth this year. Our pitching staff was a lot more deep. We had a freshman that did really well as a number 2. And then Kyla Berry came on as a new number 2, and she was great. I think, obviously, as a team, 1 through 9, we were a lot better. I think last year there were some holes in the lineup a little bit. I think this year, 1 through 9, we were all a problem. I mean, obviously, shout out to Kenzie Woods, who was our 8-hitter, who had that game-tying home run against Virginia. That was just one of the best moments of probably everyone's NCAA tournament, because that was just huge, and that was coming from the bottom of our order. So I think it is a testament to how deep we are as a team, how much talent we have, 1 through 9, 1 through 23 even. So I think we just all came together. We all had one purpose, and we played for each other.
By the way, we'll get back to your season, but Scott Martin made a great point that I want you to comment on, Allison. Texas Tech had the bases loaded in the first inning, didn't score. Kennedy hit into that ground double play, and where they come home in first base, and then Kavan got out of the inning. How big was that? Because Texas Tech jumped on Kavan early in the first inning.
Yeah, I honestly was gonna bring it up, and then the topic changed, and it was too late. But I mean, definitely that was a huge swing of momentum towards Texas's side. I think, Maya Davis starts off first pitch swinging. I love that, just aggressive out of the gate. You don't see that a lot with leadoff hitters that are swinging at the first pitch. So I thought that was cool. And then obviously load the bases. And then that double play is what killed them. That's the last thing you want to do is hit a rollover ground ball to third base in that situation. So, I mean, it's hard. Setting a softball is so hard, but I think you gotta find a way to hit the ball in the air. I mean, she's a rise ball pitcher, so I think you gotta try to find a way to lift that ball. And then obviously they had another ground out on a check swing, which I won't say too much on that because I'm not a big check swing, excuse me, swing fan. But I mean, it was definitely a great moment for Texas, not so great for Texas Tech. We'll just say that.
Fair. Texas got to clean up their defense too. They had 4 errors, although one of them was because of the obstruction, which is absurd. But nonetheless, they do got to play a cleaner game. But I also thought they made some plays defensively there from that standpoint. About the Atwood head, going back to the Atwood head. Do you think that gets her going now, moving forward?
Oh, for sure. I mean, they said it in the broadcast. It only takes one hit, and that is definitely true, especially when I wouldn't call it a slump because, I mean, it's only been a couple of games. But I think when you go a couple games without getting a hit or getting on base, it takes one big hit, and that's what's going to keep you going for the rest of the tournament. So I definitely agree with that statement. Yes.
Especially in postseason, which is such a small sample size. Like you
Mm-hmm.
had to go through. And now back to you. I want to ask you about the ASUN championship game, the clincher, because I watched it from the Oklahoma City hotel. And of course, you had weather issues in the ASUN. Victor had weather issues in an ASUN tournament. Do you believe it, Victor? Can you believe that happens?
To have taxes and weather issues in the ASUN tournament, guarantees in life.
It's not like, well, at least they got it in, unlike other ASUN tournaments.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. We don't even particularly I remember watching that game. And it was sort of intense because Eastern Kentucky was a fantastic team. Like, honestly, you two were the best teams all year in the ASUN. I think we can all say that easily, clarity. And I think we've been saying that on the podcast. Victor, you've been saying that all year in the pod, that, North Florida's biggest threat was probably Eastern Kentucky. And we kind of was, from a fan standpoint, a media standpoint, we're waiting for that collision. And I will never forget the moment where in the 6th inning, I think, Coach Conrad comes out, takes you out of the game. And we had him on the podcast, and he explained it and everything. But take me through that game, because that was such an emotional game. It works. You get the out. I'll never forget, you hug your catcher, and you're in tears. That was one of the most emotional things I've ever seen. Take me through that now that you've had time to reflect on that.
I mean, obviously, I didn't have my best game. I thought that, Kyla picked me up and picked our team up. That was just such a great moment for her, for all of us. I mean, when we celebrated after the game, we were playing our walk-up song. It's like one of our team little things that we do. And I mean, me and Kenzie have gotten close this year. I have a lot of respect for her. She's a great teammate, just a great person. She would run through a wall for you. So I think, and the amount of stuff she's gone through, I mean, she tore her labrum a couple of years ago, had to have surgery, has had a really hard comeback with that. So, and I was telling her, like, the amount of stuff that you've gone through has all led to this moment. And she's been with Coach Jeff the longest. She was a 5th year. So she is stuck with Coach Jeff her entire career. So I was just telling her the amount of stuff you've gone through has led to this moment. I couldn't be more proud. I was just so proud of her and all of the hard, because she's super hardworking. She's just down to earth, humble, very hardworking. And I mean, I know that she was feeling all the emotions in that moment. So it was a great moment for me too. I mean, she's gotten me through a lot this year. And I think I could say the same, that I've gotten her through a lot too. So we worked together really well. So it was just emotional for both of us.
No, it was. But I think it spoke to how great your team was, because I remember Coach Conrad, we had him on the podcast the Monday after he had won the conference tournament, and he talked about they were preparing Kyra for that moment all year. With Amber Pfizer, your pitching coach, it wasn't just about you. As great as you were, you're the best pitcher in the ASUN, one of the best pitchers in the country. but you had other arms to back you, and it came up in that scenario there. Just talk about that rest of your pitching staff, and Amber Pfizer, who I believe was at Oklahoma State, might have been at that game tonight. Who knows? She's getting ready for her season with the Spark, but the job you all done, because I covered your team when you played in Orlando, and I was impressed with all the different arms you had. And I know in talking to her in Orlando during that time, that this was the goal was, hey, we know what we have in Benny, but we need to help her and save her by having all these different options arms-wise.
I mean, our pitching staff is great. They're fantastic. I think we have a lot of different looks, which is great. I mean, obviously, Macy is a left-handed pitcher, so a lot of differences with that. Kyla is a lot different, slow, spinny. So me and Kyla feed off of each other very well. We have our other pitchers, Taylor Cook, Cameron Pollock, and Ashley Connor. They're all have different looks. And I think the best part of it all is that we support each other 100%, no matter who's in the game, whether it's me or Macy or any of them. It doesn't matter who, we're all supporting each other. And obviously, Coach Vise has done a terrific job. I mean, we had 4 pitchers win ASUN Pitcher of the Week this season, which I don't know if any other team in ASUN history can say that. So that's just a testament to how good overall our staff was. So she has obviously been a huge part of that. And I know all of the other pitchers would compliment all that she's done for us. And she's just been a great role model for me. I watched her in high school at the University of Minnesota, and she was someone I looked up to a lot. So it was just, I'll say it over and over. It was a full circle moment when now that I'm playing for her and I've looked up to her for a long time.
You see, Vic, that's one more case for him in my favor. Why I think this North Florida team is the greatest ASUN champion team ever. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, you're right. You're right, Eric. And by the way, I am currently looking as we speak to see how many times. I'm trying to find a record for most times a school has had a pitcher win ASUN Pitcher of the Week in one season. I think North Florida may hold the record. I've seen Central Arkansas have a couple of times. I see Florida Gulf Coast had a couple of times, but
not as many.
Yeah, 4 different pitchers on a staff.
That's impressive. That is very impressive.
But I do want to ask you, Eddie. You get the final out, and that scene in the circle, you did it. You got the conference championship. What were those the initial emotions like, not just for you, but for the entire team, realizing that you finished the freaking job, which was your moniker all season long?
I think just joy. Honestly, we all came together. We were dancing and just having so much fun. I think there was a lot of happy tears, from myself included. So it was just great to see all of our hard work pay off. I think that was the biggest thing is we worked so hard in the weight room, with conditioning, practices in the fall, scrimmaging in team scrimmages a lot. We did a lot of those. So I think it was just an amazing moment to see that all just pay off and allow us to hold a trophy at the end.
But you guys weren't done because you went to South Carolina for a regional, first time in program history. And all you ended up doing was taking down Virginia twice, got to a regional final, walked them off the field. What was that experience like to be in the regional, get to a regional final? And then I remember your last appearance, you were taken out. You got a standing ovation from everybody in that stadium, not just North Florida fans, but South Carolina fans. Like one of the diehard South Carolina fans who's a loyal fan of the show, Softball Randy, messaged me and is like, man, watching that Allison Benning in person was incredible. Like, you made a lot of fans that day. What was that whole weekend like?
Well, the first game, I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I've been to a regional before. A couple of us have been to the postseason. So we were almost all of us were new. That was the first time I've pitched in a regional. So it was definitely a little nerve-wracking, but I just trusted in my team and my coaches and just what we've done all year long. I mean, getting that last strikeout to end the game was one of the best moments of my career. It was incredible. I mean, we took down an ACC opponent, an opponent that's been ranked in the top 25 pretty much all year. It was honestly insane. And then we played them again later, or the next day, later in the day, and we were down 5-1. and this has been something we've done all year, is we sometimes would get down and we'd always find a way to come back. We scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th, score another. Obviously, I talked about it earlier, Kenzie's game tying home run. Then we had, with 2 outs, Lulu gets walked, I get intentionally walked, and then Chloe, well, she's just so clutch. She gets that game winning hit. She's done that all year long. So it was just so much joy, and we were so excited. We Coach Jeff talked about it. Don't just be happy to be there. Go in and expect to win, and nobody expected us to get as far as we did, and I think that's what fueled us is we were not expected to win a game or win that first game anyway, but we won and we got to a regional final. And I mean, the standing ovation was probably the best moment of my life. It was the best. My parents were in attendance and my dad started crying, which he doesn't do very often. He'll probably kill me when he hears me say that on a podcast. Sorry, Dad. But my parents were so proud, and that just made me so happy. And it was unexpected. I didn't think that they would all get on their feet, but when they did, it just made me cry even more. So I was like, really? Like, I'm already bawling my eyes out a little bit. So
It's the shine of respect, it's the sign of respect and an acknowledgement of, hey, we acknowledge you. We have tremendous respect. Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. My partner in crime here did predict that you would get to the regional final before the region. He did. Swear, I'm the witness. So
Thanks
Victor was on
us.
no joke. He nailed it.
Nice.
Victor, and so he did believe in you guys get to the regional final there, and you clearly believed him as well. From there, what describe playing for Coach Conrad? You've mentioned him. Not to give away our spoilers, but like in a couple of weeks, we're doing an In the Circle award show, and Jeff Conrad's nominated for a couple awards. That's what we'll say. Yeah, right. We may have to bring you back for the award show, actually. We may have to bring you back for that. Maybe we could do presenter. I have a feeling you're up for some awards there, too.
We'll figure something out.
I'll be back.
Ooh, deal. See, Vic, look at that. Write this down.
Whenever you want
making arrangements.
You got my number.
I got you. But talk about him because I've known him for a decade, going back to when he was a volunteer coach at UCF. And then he was hired by Marcy at UNF, Marcy Higgs, and was really helped raise the program as an assistant associate. And then he got promoted and built the program. And then obviously you committed to him. You believed in his vision. We talked about that from that standpoint. Just talk about what he is like, because to me, I don't think he gets enough credit when we talk about some of the best head coaches in the sport, and especially mid-major levels. His name needs to come up more often, and I think now with this run, people have now finally started to take notice.
Yeah, Coach Jeff is one of my. I mean, I owe him so much. For believing in me. I came out of the school I was at. I was broken. I had no confidence in myself, and he immediately texted me like 5 minutes into the portal, and this is just who he is. Benny, what's up, superstar? This is Jeff Conrad, HC @ UNF. And I was like, this is so strange. Like, I've never seen anyone text like this before. That's over the age of 40. So I was like, oh, this guy seems cool. And then we had a phone call for like probably an hour and a half. And he's just very humble, very respectful. He's just a great person. He cares a lot about us more than his athletes. He checks in on you. And he's just been someone that I've looked up to, and someone, honestly, I owe a lot to him for getting me to where I am now, not only as an athlete, but as a person. So you won't hear him on the field very often. He's very laid back, very chill, but that doesn't mask his passion. I think he is one of the most competitive people you'll ever meet besides me. And he is just someone that will do anything to win. And he's just, I can't say enough about the impact Coach Jeff has had on my life. And I'm sure a lot of my teammates can say the same. So, Coach Jeff, if you're listening, thanks for everything, dude. You're awesome.
He is very cool, laid back. I remember I
Right.
interviewed him during in-game when you guys played in Orlando at the UCF tournament. I was privileged to call all your games in that tournament, and we would interview him in-game. He was very laid back. It's like I wasn't expecting that. Like, wait a minute, wow, he's got a cool sunglasses, but no, he's awesome from that standpoint. Now, you mentioned that you had transferred from Oregon to come to North Florida to find your home. And so it's only fitting I ask you about this because obviously the portal is open as we speak. That is going to become a story once this World Series ends. Lots of names about that. I'm not going to ask about that. I just want to ask you, what advice would you give right now a young player, a player that's in the portal or is going to enter the portal that you think that's very important as they go through this process like you did?
So I think the one thing is don't make your decision based off the name of the school you're going to. That's something I told Coach Jeff early on is I'm not looking I'm not just going to be going for the biggest name that recruits me because I had some Power 4 schools recruiting me. I had a couple of Big Tens recruiting me. So I think it's and not that those aren't great options too, but I think you have to do your research. You have to understand what you're getting yourself into. I remember Savannah Chanel, she graduated when I was a junior. She was very helpful for me when I was in the portal. She answered all my questions. She was real, she was authentic, and I think that's what you have to try to find is someone that's real, someone that believes in you, because that's what's most important. And then just a place where you think you're gonna thrive, you know? Entering the transfer portal is really honestly, it's scary because you don't know you don't know what to expect. You don't know who's gonna reach out to you or if anyone's gonna reach out to you, honestly. So I think you just have to trust your instincts and understand you're much more mature now than when you were being recruited in high school. So I think you have to realize you know what you need. So just go with what you think is best.
Hope that people take that advice. That'd be good. There. Tell the audience now, what are you up to now, right now? Like, are you back home in Minnesota, as I understand? Is that right?
I am. So I'm going to be working at Strike Zone Sports, which is a facility here in Minnesota with Sarah Moulton.
Oh, an old friend of
So
ours used to be
Yes.
a colleague,
yes,
a former colleague of ours.
yes,
Her and I have hung
her
out.
and
Yeah.
her and Sam Mackin own a facility here. I've worked for her for a couple of years now, but now I'm going to be full time. I'm going to be deemed a professional, which upgrade. So I'm very excited for that. I'm also coaching, as you know, Eric, the 12U St. Croix Boom team. I don't know if they're watching or not still. It's probably past their bedtime. They're all 11 and
You
12.
can watch it
If
on
they are,
demand. Watch it on
well, if they
replay.
are, number one,
They'll
thank you.
probably
Number
be
two, go to
replay.
bed.
What?
But I'm doing that this summer. It's been so fun. We had our first tournament this weekend. They did awesome. So it's super fun. I love coaching that age. I think it's a great I remember being 11 and 12, and that was some of the best times, you make a lot of memories at that age. So that's fun. And then we are working at Strike Zone. So softball can't get away from me.
That's good. Send my best to Sarah there. Yeah, we hung
Yes.
out in the 2018 World Series there. I texted her to see if she wanted to come on, but I never heard back. She's too busy now. She's a mom now. I
Mhm.
understand. No time for me anymore. I get it. But now I will be I will acknowledge this is a little bit of a selfishness from my part. I'm happy what you're doing, but I think I speak for Vic and a lot of people is I wish you're still playing. And I think you should be playing in a pro league somewhere, whether it be this year or next year. I think you should be playing. So let me just put this on the record because, a lot of people tend to watch us. If somebody approached you to play professionally, whether it be in the States or overseas, would you be interested?
I would be interested. I have been approached about playing overseas. That's just not something I want to do
Okay.
right now. But if it was in the United States, I would definitely be interested in that. So I'll just leave it at that.
Is it just you just want to play in the States, or would you revisit the overseas stuff down the road if that revisited it?
I probably would just want to stay in the States.
Okay. I'm just clearing this up for people that are listening. So
Yes.
all right. So if you're in the States and you're a pro league, you heard it. And I'm going to tell you right now, Victor and I are going to be bringing this up all the time on the podcast. We're gonna until you get a phone call. Because it's like I said, I think Victor and I did this on the podcast. We have already put you in the Mount Rushmore of ASUN athletes of all time. Rightfully so. It's a no-brainer.
Dude.
I'm just saying, you deserve it. You've had an incredible career.
I mean, I know. North Florida, yes, without question. But we're putting her in the ASUN.
I am. Did I stutter? Am I stuttering? I am not stuttering. My friend.
You're not stuttering. But we're gonna need some time to reconvene with this top subject, Eric, over the summer.
I haven't seen one.
There are some really good ASUN athletes, I will say.
I agree.
Shout out to Smilla Colby on our track and field on the cross country team.
There you go.
She's going to Eugene for nationals. She ran a sub 2 minute 800 meters. She is an incredible athlete, and she is one of the best people I know. So she definitely deserves to be up there on the Mount Rushmore of UNF and ASUN.
I'm not saying there's not a lot of great ones there. I'm just
you see, Eric. You see, Benny knows what she's talking about. Hey, by the way, I want to ask you this, Benny, before we let you go. Because we saw you put on your broadcasting hat, if you will, during the baseball season, being a part of the UNF baseball broadcast with ESPN Plus with Richard Miller. So is that something that you may be kind of dabbling into down the line, possibly?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a great opportunity. I mean, the people at UNF ESPN Plus are great. I know them all. They're great people. They want to give opportunities to students. I had another student in my class, Grace Donnellan, who did a really good job. She did some of our softball games. And so I think that it's definitely something I'm interested in. And hopefully we'll see if anything comes of that. I'm flying on the seat of my pants right now, honestly.
Well, this is why we wanted to get you on and get you some airtime here and get the word out. So if you don't get, play pro, but broadcasting, that would be good. Would you want to be like an analyst or sideline? Because you've done, or is it both?
Yeah, let her do play-by-play.
Either. I'm open to anything.
Ooh, I like this. We need to make some phone calls here. We got to make some calls here.
Eric, we've kept Betty too long, man. We gotta let her.
Well, I warned her about this. No, I warned her about this. I warned her. We did talk about it. A lot to cover. All right, we'll let you kind of go on this couple things here. I don't know, who did you pick before this series, and what do you expect to see the rest of the series here?
I picked Texas Tech before the series. Honestly, I think they still have a shot. I am very excited for tomorrow. I bet it will be another pitcher's duel once again. I love a good pitcher's duel as a pitcher myself. So I think it will definitely be entertaining. I hope there's not as much antics tomorrow night, but you never know with this sport. There's always something going on. So we'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to a good game with obviously some extremely talented players. That's the best part, is seeing female athletes. And I mean, viewership is on the rise. I think that's great for softball. I mean, these athletes are incredible at what they do, and they deserve the attention that they're getting. So all my best to them. And I think it's going to be exciting.
You think it goes 3, or do you think you go 3 games?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That'd be fun. I hope you're right on that.
I don't think Nigeria Kennedy is going to go out too easily. So she's definitely going to have a fight at least.
Are you still?
She did speak in a press conference. She says, I got all summer to rest, which means she's getting the ball tomorrow night. And if they play on Friday, she's getting the ball again.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to some
torn hamstring. She's just a warrior. Yes. I have so much respect for people like that just push through, because I've had to do that myself. So much respect to her for just the person she is too. I mean, obviously there's a lot about the $1 million contract, but I think what gets lost in the shuffle is that she is just humble. She's great. She's a great representative of our sport. And I mean, she just commands respect, but she doesn't go out and ask for it. She takes it in her play and who she is. So.
No doubt. Well, you're one yourself as well. In fact, we got one of the people said knowledgeable guest, well spoken, clearly a leader, and an awesome young lady. So
Oh,
you
thank
got
you. I appreciate
people.
that. That's very
Al-
nice.
That is Allison Benning, ASUN Player of the Year, Pitcher of the Year, D1 Softball,
Oh,
second team All-American.
And ASUN Scholar Athlete of the Year too.
Oh, that's true.
Don't forget that.
Clearly. Well, clearly. I mean,
Yeah,
she's helped raise the IQ of this show, which is it's not, granted, it's not that hard.
Which doesn't have to do much in the first place.
It is fair. But yes, D1 Softball All-American, D1 Softball Mid-Major Player of the Year, greatest UNF softball player of all time, Allison Benning, joining us here. Thank you so much. Like, seriously, this was fun. I did take you longer than I told you, but I told you, we get talking softball.
I had a blast, so I was okay with it. But thank you so much. I had a great time. Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Soon. We definitely will, buddy. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Benny.
Thank you.
All right. Allison Benning joining us there. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
I love that. Think about this there. Hey, I always say, and by the way, Eric, I've been following our Twitter/X account. We may be getting some swag from the ASUN champions in the
I like the sound of that.
I'm just saying. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, in the midst of all of this, Eric, I just saw Eric's reaction. Something tells me something bad happened in Canada, and I don't want to watch.
No, they're still. Although, yeah, the problem is they're still playing. I was kind of hoping. They're still playing.
The way your face grows for
Panthers led when this show started. They're not anymore. But hey, listen, who doesn't matter? Hey, more importantly, she was fantastic. That was phenomenal. That was actually one of my favorite guests we've had in the live show. We might put that on our podcast when we do the recap of the World Series. She was fantastic.
Yes.
On the podcast feed as well. But she was tremendous there, Victor. And let's get into you mentioned the presser. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know. Let's get to some. I'm curious what some of the feedback was from I'm curious what people were saying in the post-game pressers. I would assume there were some interesting topics that came up there.
Oh, yes. Yes, there were. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow the press conferences. We will have them available on the D1Softball YouTube channel, so you can watch that. And by the way, we will work to get you live coverage of the press conferences tomorrow night in Game 2. And if there is a necessary Game 3, we will get those live for you as well. But Eric, I want to ask you this. Now that we've heard a player perspective about the obstruction and the crazy.
Well, let's get to it because Justin McLeod tweeted he found the rule apparently about the umpire interference. Victor, I don't know if you let me know if you have that. You can read it off and put it on the screen.
I am efforting to pull up the tweet as we speak.
Yeah, let's do that because I had a feeling Justin was going to find it. So that was this was a bizarre game. And what's unfortunate, it was a fun game, but and then the umpires got in the middle of it, and then that's been the issue. And listen, I'm actually calm because I wasn't surprised that we said this on the podcast. If you've been listening to the podcast after the Arkansas-Florida game, you said that we had a bad feeling something was going to happen in the World Series.
And it's happened twice.
Something happened on Sunday. And what did I tell you off the air after we went off, right as we went off the air on Sunday night? This ain't going to be the last time we're going to be talking about.
And here we are.
And here we are. And it's just, and what bothers me is they're going to get protected because we're going to focus on the rule itself and how it's, the rule needs to go. And I agree with that. I'm not disagreeing.
It's not the rule. It's the application of.
Well, no, it's both. The rule's terrible, but the way they applied, because this is the problem. The rule is subject to interpretation.
Yes.
So it gives the umpires way too much control.
Leeway.
And the way, and then this wasn't even the umpire, it was the review system. That's what's disturbing about this, about the obstruction. It wasn't actually the umpires.
It was the review.
The review system. Oh my God, if the review people are choking this away, then we really got problems. And so this goes beyond just the umpires. It's the way. I would argue, let me ask you this. I would argue that no sport has a worse replay system than softball right now. Because to me, there is two. Yeah. Sometimes it's two. They upheld the call because it's not conclusive. I was told before the year it's got to be over. It's got to be conclusive. It's got to be this.
Be conclusive.
And then sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't, and it's just too all over the place.
The word conclusive is up to interpretation by the
that's the problem. Right. That's the problem. And I'm sorry, the fact that you are really saying that a toe Really? A
A
toe?
toe.
Get me out of here, man. Stop it.
By the way,
That's
Eric,
an
I have to tweet.
Go ahead. Now, this is about the umpire interference, which, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I have never seen that call in my entire career. You neither, correct? No. You neither. Okay, no. Go ahead.
Section 961.3. When the plate umpire or their clothing interferes with the catcher's attempt to throw out a base runner or a pickoff or steal attempt. Effect. If the base runner is ruled out as a result of the catcher's initial throw, the ball remains live and there is no interference. If the base runner is not out on the initial throw by the catcher, the ball is immediately dead. The base runner must return to the base legally occupied at the time of the pitch, even if the base runner is caught off base and an opportunity for an out via rundown exists. So, because there was umpire interference and there was a steal a second, by the letter of the rule, the runner has to return back to first, even though they got the steal of second.
So the umpire screwed the runner.
Yep. Yep. So think about this, Eric. Eric, think about this. The umpires, in essence, give Texas Tech a run and potentially took a run away from Texas Tech all in the span of 3 innings. Think about that. Because you had the overturn, because you had the stolen base that was overturned. No, you had the caught stealing that was overturned by the Texas Tech challenge to the obstruction call. Then you had the stolen base that was nullified because of the umpire's interference, and the run had to be placed back to first. So in essence, a run was taken back, given to Texas Tech, and then taken away in 3 innings.
What are we
Only
doing?
softball. Only softball. Do you have a situation like I just described happen? And not only happen, but happen in game 1 of a championship series where one of these two teams will leave Oklahoma City with their first national championship in program history. But because of some stupid rule that none of us had ever seen called until tonight, that's what's happened.
I'm just happy for a change. I'm not the one going off here. And Victor, for the way, because I know we've had feedback. People like, hey, you guys are too hard on the umpires, and they're like,
well, Victor, no one else is going to be. Hey, no one else.
Victor has umpired. By the way, Vic has umpired, so he actually he deals with a lot of crap when he's officiating.
I deal with a lot worse for a lot less money. Just saying. Just saying. Maybe it's because the Panthers are still tied in game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Maybe I'm still having some of the residue of what happened Sunday in Tennessee and UCLA. I don't know.
You know what my favorite part about all that is?
What is that, Eric?
ESPN has the rules analyst, Christy Cornwell, who hires the umpires.
Yes.
She didn't know. Didn't know. Nobody knew. Didn't know. Can you imagine if Mike Ferreira? Can you imagine? Imagine if the NFL, right? Imagine if Kevin Burkhardt goes to Mike Pereira, and Mike Pereira's like, I think that's what they're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
What sport has a rules analyst where they say, I don't know?
It's not good. In fact, let me read.
Only softball has that. And yet everybody has a problem when people like us call us out.
Correct.
That's the biggest problem, is that the people who want these things to change are upset when those like us call out the need for
we're the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. Yeah, we're the bad guys. Yeah,
well, guess what? We'll be the best bad guys you've ever met.
And again, we only do it because, look at what could have happened tonight. Look what could have happened.
Look at what did happen.
But it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse because I'm telling you. And again, I have no dog in the fight. I like both teams. I generally enjoy. Both teams have been good to me. I have friends on both sides. I am New Switzerland on this. Like, I did not enjoy making a pick for this series.
Hey,
I was excited.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I just let the teams decide the game. Please. Like, call common sense. Let me read you Jimmy Traina. You're familiar with Jimmy Traina?
Yes, I am.
He's a writer at Sports Illustrated, hosts the SI Media podcast. This is a casual. He's tuning into softball because remember, we have pretty good exposure tonight, right?
Yes, we do.
Here's what he tweeted. ESPN brought in its rules analyst at the end of the Texas Tech games, women's College World Series game, and it was an incomplete debacle with nobody knowing what was going on. Maybe missed the NFL season even more. That was his punchline. He's a big NFL guy. We get that. Pretty accurate. Can't argue. I had people on this phone that, okay, Vic, this is why this gets frustrating to me. I try to defend the sport in a lot of ways about how it needs to get pushed more, it needs to be invested more, and all this stuff. This is the time of year where a lot of casual people that don't normally watch softball are watching softball. And then people are blowing my phone up in the fifth inning asking me, what is that about? What am I supposed to say, Victor, to these people that know I cover this sport? And they're asking me, why is that obstruction? That is stupid. That's what I'm trying. And I'll be honest, maybe I'm not doing the best job of explaining this. I want more eyeballs on the sport. If a casual sports fan watches that, they're thinking, this is stupid. What is the point of this? And that is the thing I'm trying to cross message that nobody gets. And I understand, by the way, I laughed because I saw so many people saying you coaches have to fill out your surveys and all that. Hey, I got news for you. A lot of them do. A lot of them actually fill out surveys during the week to their respective conferences complaining about certain umpires. And you know what happens? Nothing. So don't give me that. Do not give me that garbage. Okay? Yeah, fill out the surveys, but actually do something with the survey. So don't go on the coaches on this, because I know that for a fact. So please stop it. Stop defending them. Stop defending the umpires. I'm sick of it. And here's the scary thing, Vic. This is the best crew they determine. This is what the best we have. And what I don't get, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vic, because you covered Division II. You called a lot of games for a decade. You called Division II games for a decade, right? Is that a fair number?
Yes, I have.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember the umpiring being bad in D2. Tell me if I'm wrong.
They've had moments. But nothing of the consistency of the missed calls, of the misinterpretations. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'll give you an example. If you were with us on Sunday night when we were having the conversation about Appendix G and how Karen Weekly did not appeal the missed touch of home plate, I called a Division II game, Rollins versus Florida Southern. I'll never forget it. Player missed home plate by a foot. The head coach, the legendary Hall of Famer Chris Bellato, went to the home plate umpire, appealed to the umpire. Before they threw the next pitch, gave it to the catcher, stepped on home plate, called her out. And I remember distinctly while the umpires were conversating about it. I'm like, did she forget to touch home plate? And I realized that, and they called her out. And I remember saying that. She didn't touch home plate. If D2 umpires can understand the interpretation of that rule, Appendix G, then why don't we have D1 umpires with the assistance of instant replay figure that call out? And
D2 doesn't even have that. Yeah, D2 doesn't even have that.
It take nearly 20 minutes to confirm a call that you couldn't conclusively, that you saw right there. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
I was told by a source, the home plate umpire that called the Tennessee-Oklahoma game on Thursday. Okay? Not going to mention names. Yeah.
Okay, home plate umpire, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Thursday. Got it.
The World Series game.
Yes.
In the Super Regionals. Okay. You know what their ball strike accuracy was?
I'm going to say he's 78%.
Boy, you're such a kind human being.
What?
You are so generous. I mean, what a generous guy you are. How about 41%?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
41%.
Is that bad? Not good? Not good?
That
you don't hear that, but you don't hear that, do you? Yeah.
No.
Why not? Every other
sport holds,
like the NBA, for example, which it's the most scrutinized officiating in probably all pro sports, arguably, right? Like everybody always thinks there's a fix going on in the NBA and all that.
Always.
And listen, I'm not defending all what they do, but they are evaluated. And I know you and I have argued about this. You don't like the final 2 minute explanation of where the NBA releases a 2 minute report, what calls were missed or not missed in the last 2 minutes of the NBA game. I know you mock it. I like it because at least they're admitting what was missed, what was not. And they do evaluate the refs, and based on their performance, for example, is determined who, for example, calls the conference finals or the NBA final. Same thing in the NFL where they put them all together as all-star groups. If you're doing good to the regular season. I'm not sure that happens in softball. I haven't got evidence otherwise, please. And for the record, we've been on this podcast, and then we'll drop the subject. Since 2015, we have asked people from the umpiring crew to come on the show.
Decline. I wonder why.
Don't. It's not like we're not trying to give you the favor, because I know some umpires who listen to the show. It's like, you're being unfair. Really?
Tell your colleagues to be better at their jobs.
And again, doesn't excuse the obstruction rule. I absolutely needs to be evaporated. I said this Sunday night. I think half the rule book, just throw it out. Just throw it out. Simplify the sport. Too mmany rules. Kenzie Fowler said it best. Thankfully, that did not decide this game tonight.
Thankfully, yes.
It was a bizarre thing where Texas found the way to win 2-1, and on a bizarre situation. Victor, where do you see the series going from here now? Can Texas Tech bounce back from this? That's a gut-wrenching loss.
It is.
Texas finally got to be thinking, woof, with all that. Sets up interesting story here going to game 2.
Texas is in the same situation that they were when they played Tennessee on Monday. You could afford to rest Tegan Cavan. You pitch Mac Morgan. Morgan was stellar against Tennessee. She was stellar in game 3 in the Super Regionals versus Clemson. And do we have breaking news?
Yes. Matthew McConaughey has chimed in.
All right.
Cavan mows him down, and Atwood says, I'll take your pitch out. Longhorn softball up 1-0 in the World Series. Hook 'em, ladies. Texas softball. Wow. So we've got...
The big guns are coming out. Patrick Mahomes gifted Texas Tech some new swag before the game today. And Matthew McConaughey is out tweeting. We have Richard Jefferson being interviewed in the stands during game 1. I mean, it is wild, man. It is wild. But that notwithstanding, let's return back to Texas and the advantage that they have. Because they knew if they won game 1, they could afford to rest Tegan Cavan. Because Mac Morgan has shown that when Texas needs her to pitch well, she will pitch. She has pitched phenomenally. And here's the interesting thing, Eric. With Texas Tech being I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Wait, more breaking news. Tegan Cavan just responded to Matthew McConaughey. See you tomorrow?
Ooh.
Whoa.
All right.
Can Matthew McConaughey be a rules analyst?
He could do a lot better than what the hell they got right now.
All right, I apologize. Go ahead. I'm just blown away by this. So just go ahead.
So, but Texas, here's the thing, Eric. Texas is the visiting team tomorrow. The fact that Reese Atwood got that base hit to essentially give them the win. If Texas jumps on Kennedy early tomorrow, that's going to be less pressure on Mac Morgan because she could pitch with a lead, she could pitch comfortably, and they know that if all they need from Mac Morgan, give them 5 strong innings. If Texas can get the lead, you give the ball to Tegan Gavon and let her take it to the promised land. So Texas, if they jump on Texas Tech early, put the pressure on the Red Raiders, that's going to give the advantage to Mac Morgan. Now for Texas Tech, Mia Davis, 2 for 2 tonight. You referenced she got that hit in the 7th inning versus Oklahoma. Now you're starting to see her get rolling. Texas Tech has to find a way to get offense early. And I put this when we had Benny on the show. The 7-run score by Texas Tech before to get to the Champ Series, that's the fewest runs scored by any team to make it to the finals since Texas A&M in 2008. That was Amanda Scarborough's team. And Texas A&M scored 5 runs to get to the Champ Series. So they scored 8 runs so far in the Women's College World Series. They're going to need to put together at least 4 or 5 runs if they want to see a Game 3.
All right, let me read some comments. Nija Kennedy in the postgame. I've made that mistake. I think that loss is on me, and I apologize to my team. They won 1 game. They didn't win the whole battle. I'm fine. I have all summer to rest. I'm ready to play softball. So that was Nija Kennedy in the postgame. Stand up to answer the questions, by the way. For her, a lot of athletes, as you know, Victor, in other sports would have run and hide. She did not. She took ownership, and I do feel bad for her. And they showed her in that 7th inning. You could see in her face that one stung to her. She upset herself. And Jerry Glasgow apparently said here, let me see the postgame, that they really hadn't practiced too much to pit the intentional the walk. And that might be something that you now write in the rule book.
And this is always fascinating, Eric, because Allison brought this up. Pitchers are taught to throw strikes. Find your spots. Hit your zones. When you're asking someone, you have to excuse me, the Florida Panthers just lost to Game 1 in the Stanley Cup Final. So, my energy is
Yeah, block it out of your mind. Block it out.
It's kind of, you know what? It's like what Texas Tech has to do. They have to block out what happened, how the game ended, and focus on Game 2. The only difference is with the Florida Panthers, if they lose Game 2, they got Game 3 at home. If Texas Tech loses Game 2, there ain't gonna be no Game 3 Friday night. So if you're Texas Tech, you gotta get production from the rest of your lineup. Because matter of fact, I'm gonna share with you. I want to share with everybody what Texas Tech their lineup did tonight versus Tegan Gavon. Davis and Tony went a combined 3 for 5. Look at that. Allred 0 for 2. Kennedy 0 for 3. Langoliers 0 for 3. Johnson 0 for 3. Elder 0 for 3. You're not going to beat Mac Morgan or Tegan Gavon if you have a combined 3 hits and they're from your 1-2 hitters in your lineup. That is not going to work. That is not going to fly. And now that you got Reese Atwood back going, this is why that top of the first inning might be the most important inning of Texas Tech softball in quite some time tomorrow night. Because if Texas rides that momentum from that bottom of the 6 and they jump on Texas Tech with the early 2-0 lead and give some run support to Mac Morgan, the pressure is going to squarely fall on the Texas Tech offense, which has been struggling in Oklahoma City, but because of Nija's magic, have gotten to this championship series. That offense needs to wake up, and they need to wake up tomorrow. Otherwise, there will be no.
Well, especially if you are going to face a Mac Morgan type, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to face it, because they can't hit Tegan Gavon.
No.
They didn't hit her in the regular season, and they haven't hit her here. And, I agree. I could see a Mac Morgan type starting, And if they have a lead late, they're going to go to Kavan like they did against Tennessee on Monday. So this is the advantage of having the 1-game lead.
Exactly. And the other thing is, this is where, if you're Texas Tech, do you have? And I think the biggest, we always talked about this with Nyjah. She's thrown every pitch in the Women's College World Series. And Scott brings up a very good point. Mike White has shown at Oregon he has had the tendency to come up short. The series appears to be low scoring, which favors the best defense in Tech. Fair. However, can Texas Tech come up with hits with runners in scoring position? Can Texas Tech get runners on base? Again, Texas Tech only had 3 hits tonight. Davis and Tony were responsible for all 3 hits. The rest of the lineup went 0 for tonight. That is not going to work if Mac Morgan is hitting her spots and if you have to deal with Kavan with your season on the line tomorrow night. That is not going to fly. Matter of fact, let me give you a further breakdown of what Texas Tech was unable to do tonight. Look at that. Texas Tech 1 of 3 for 25. And again, 3 of those hits, all 3 of those hits, so that's 3 of 5 from Davis and Tony. And the rest of the lineup went 0 for 20, Eric, as we're breaking down the stats right now. Texas Tech 1 for 8 with 2 outs, 2 for 11 with runners on base, 1 for 4 with runners on scoring position. But look, Texas wasn't much better tonight, but Texas took advantage of the opportunities with runners in scoring position tonight. That's how Texas Tech won. That's why Texas won the game. That's why Texas is 1 win away from winning their first ever national championship. And here, Eric, is the stat that Texas Tech is going to have to overcome if they want to take home the national championship. 4 times ever since the implementation of the championship series, which, by the way, is 20 years ago, has a team lost game 1 and come back to win the championship series. Now, Oklahoma's the most recent team to do that against Florida State, but you're going to ask Texas Tech to somehow beat Tegan Gavon and dialed in Mac Morgan the next 2 nights with your offense hitting 3 for 25.
We're assuming we're projecting possibly. We don't know that for a fact. I mean, Mike, I don't think, unless Mike White made some announcement, which I doubt he would do that on a postgame. There's no reason to do that. By the way, somebody wanted to ask you this thought, Victor.
Yes.
The umpire interference, do you think it probably saved Texas Tech for the moment? Because if Reese Atwood doesn't hit the umpire, she probably hits the batter crossing in from her, and the runner is out and the game is over. Remember the Texas challenged it? Double play, because they thought about whether they hit or interference. Interesting thought there. First of all, in fairness, that's an interesting thought. We've never seen an umpire interference called before, but that's an interesting point, Victor. In a way, could that have, you make a case, did that help Texas Tech save them for a moment, even though they had to go back with the runner first? Because if it wasn't for the umpire, does Reese run into the hitter, and then that's hitter interference? It's a double play. Interesting thought.
It delayed the inevitable, honestly, but the game was
right. That's the point. It could have, delayed a little bit.
It was so wacky anyway.
Really was, man.
What are we doing? At that point,
I can't. Let's predict, guys. What weird rule will be called tomorrow night that we've never heard of before? We should just play that game.
We should put that as a Twitter question, honestly.
Yeah, why not? Because, I mean, I don't even think golf uses their rule book as much as softball.
They actually use it and apply it correctly, unlike softball. That's the problem.
What a night. So where do you think Texas Tech can do this? Can they bounce back, Victor? By the way, if you're Texas, you're going to have to still hit Kennedy. It's not like they hit her great. I mean, they found a way.
They hit her enough.
Well, and that's been the story of that matchup. We'll be going back to the World Series last year when Kennedy was with Stanford. And even this year in the regular season game that went extra innings, if you watch the D1Softball podcast championship series preview last night with me and Jenna Becerra, we had Kat Osterman on. We talked about that. Texas has had success against Kennedy. They haven't hit her great, but they find a way to scratch out runs, right? Just find a way. And that might be what it takes. But, you know, Tegan Cavan's been a big factor in all that because she has been fantastic here. But what do you expect, Vic? Because I don't know outside of like what other role is going to come out. What are you expecting? To me, I'm curious to see how Texas comes out. As you mentioned, they'll be the designated visiting team.
Well, here's the thing: if you're Texas, when you win a game like that and you turn around and you get first at bat in the second game of a series, you could it's the equivalent of knocking down your opponent late in a round, and then you get to come back out for the next round and you continue to be aggressive. You're looking for that knockout punch. Can Texas Tech survive that initial wave that Texas will bring them in the early innings? That's number one. Number two, can Texas Tech find somebody other than Davis and Tony to reach base? That's going to be the thing. And number three, and this is the biggest thing, how will Texas play if they have a lead, realizing that every out, they're one out closer to finishing their job? Now, Allison Benning said, FTFJ, finish the freaking job. Texas was here in 22. It was a no contest. A little bit closer in 24. Still lost to Oklahoma. They know that this is their shot to get that elusive national title for their program, for Mike White, for Andrew Haynes. Hello, Andrew.
Can we give a shout out to Andrew Haynes here? Think about what he has witnessed already this postseason alone. Think about what he's witnessed. Going back to the Super Regionals, Game 2, where Texas is 60 feet away
for not even making it
ending. They come back and win in extra innings against Clemson. They come in a game, by the way, where Texas started their freshman pitcher. Game 3 is a back and forth game. Texas has to hold on for dear life to win by a run to close that game out.
Morgan again,
who had not pitched in weeks. Then they come to the World Series. They shut out Florida. Then they play Oklahoma in a game where obviously we didn't know about it until after the fact, but Tegan Cavan's grandmother passes away. There are a lot of emotion. She gets the ball. Texas jumps out on OU. OU comes back. You're thinking, oh, here we go again. But no, Caden Henry with the home run, among other things. And they win it 4-2. They beat Oklahoma for the first time in Oklahoma since 2014. Then the Tennessee game, they shut them out. And now this game tonight. I mean, I don't know how many years. What's the over-under on how many years Andrew Haynes' life has been taken out by this postseason run? A couple, 3?
Take the over. take the over. I don't care what the number is.
I don't think he cares. I think he's in a good place, but holy macro.
Andrew Haynes does not care as long as either tomorrow night or Friday night, he says to Texas Longhorns are your national champions.
They're one win away from their first ever national title. Will Matthew McConaughey showed up? I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully Andrew, if they actually do close this out, he needs to do like the best of, because that's been a run. Let's see. He's trying to do a better job of relaxing and not getting too caught up. Yeah, I know that feeling, brother. I hear you. Bigger Tech can't even score without the blue interference. Oh boy, there we go. Get that little salty Texas Tech talk there. We got more comments. Oh man, people are blowing us up, which is great. Josh Baker, Benny Softball was a natural on the podcast tonight. Should be a regular guest. Whoa, well, that's food for thought. I think we may have found a. I think
the people like Benny Softball. What can we say?
who knows? Maybe if Vic or I decide, we take a show off here or there, we may have a fill-in co-host. We may have to negotiate here.
We can make things work. We can make some things happen.
That could work. Jeff Brown, was that Appendix ZZ? Appendix ZZ. That's good call.
I'll put Appendix WTF.
Bob Knight's Bobo Knight, not Bob Knight. Excuse me, the late Bob Knight.
My time at Earth has come.
Shocked they didn't call interference on the last play of the game. The Texas fielder caught the fly ball in the base path. I'm only half kidding. That's true. Listen, at this point, I'll believe anything.
Okay. Jim Ledbetter at JLED Gator on Twitter tweets out in the Circle SB and Texas softball. Don't think I've ever seen a hit on an intentional walk. Glad college softball hasn't adopted the no-pitch intentional walk.
Isn't that wild? I was thinking about that. In Major League Baseball, that wouldn't happen. I'm not sure.
As a matter of fact, Eric, hold on. As a matter of fact, Eric, didn't you have a walk-off on a wild pitch on an intentional walk?
I have called that. That was back in like 2008 or 9.
Eric,
yeah.
If I can remember correctly, it was Bree Javier, and she was facing UTEP.
Good memory by you.
Thank you.
Oh, shoot.
I remember you telling me when it happened, and I'm like, wait, what?
No, it's true. That was like 2009. I think so. Long time. Yeah. Weird stuff. Yeah, that was wild. That's right, because you have the finger. I mean, that's kind of wild. But credit to Reese Atwood, because you got to stay ready there, right? A lot of times, I mean, and then you got to make sure if you're going to swing, you better swing at the right pitch.
Yes, you got to trust your approach. You got to trust it. You got to trust that pitch is going to be where you expect it to be. And when it is, you better make strong contact. And that's exactly. And Eric, isn't it fitting that Reese Atwood, who was the first ever guest on our first podcast of In the Circle, D1Softball, she gets the hit to give Texas the 1-0 lead in the Champ Series. Talk about everything coming full circle.
That's a heck of a team, man, but we'll see. This is going to set up an interesting game, too, now. There'll be tomorrow night. We will be back on here after the game 2, whether champions crowned or we're going to be talking about game 3 if necessary. We're scheduled to have Illinois Associate Head Coach Laura Trout, who knows a thing or two about Jerry Glasgow and company. So we'll talk about that. We'll recap that as well. Make sure D1Softball stay with them for all the post-game coverage. I'm sure you'll see some videos on the social media pages as well as on the YouTube channel. If you go to D1Softball's YouTube channel, in fact, that's where you've been seeing the World Series press conferences this year, because they're over there at Oklahoma City and they're like, hey, you need a show. Vic needs you on the show here. Stop being late to shows. I gotta reprimand it. Like, leads help Vic out. So they're
rightfully so.
So they're taking care. I'm just glad they're reprimanding me for that and not other stuff, but that's a whole other issue. So that is why I've not been uploading the World Series stuff, so I can help Vic out and be on time, unlike other shows where I've been late. Deals there, but Jenna's been doing awesome stuff over there. Justin McLeod's been breaking stories on the transfer portal. This was a significant day again on this, and this will continue to be a significant story.
Don't worry, folks. We will talk about them when we return to our regular podcasting schedule on Monday. So
holy mackerel!
Yes, we know. We know who's in the portal, who entered the portal today. We will talk about it on Monday. Trust and believe on that.
Down the road. Yeah, it's a million ways away. But it should be a lot of fun. This was a fun show. Just want to make sure we got any other comments of worthiness here.
A lot of people loving Benny Softball on the live show tonight, Mr. Lopez.
Well, listen, that's why, for those that may have watched the Sunday show, if Oklahoma would have won, she would have been your co-host here, and I probably would never have been returned. I probably would never have returned. I probably would have been asked never to come back.
Hold on. I don't know about all that now.
Yeah, she was incredible.
Yes.
Like that, the way she explained the rules, like that's better than the rules analyst in ESPN. If somebody at ESPN should hire her, she could explain stuff that nobody else can apparently.
Hey, all I know is that if Benny Softball ain't calling UNF softball next year, Richard Miller has some explaining to do.
It could be other sports. I mean, who says it's UNF? It could be other. She is, she's a free agent.
She is.
Just saying, she is a free agent. Could go whatever. We'll have a feeling. that she will be taking care of. Yeah, she knows what she's doing there. Let's see. Okay, I think that's good. All right, Vic, final thoughts.
Woo. Dear everyone, when you go to bed tonight, please pray to whatever entity you believe in that blue does not make a significant impact on game number 2. Pray that we have 12,000 more fans show up. We got over 12,000 in attendance announced tonight.
I thought people were telling me you need Oklahoma to be in there. Huh?
And no, you just need the entire state of Texas to be.
Boy, that's definitely the truth there.
But by the way, for those of you who are going to be in Oklahoma City, you may want to plan, because I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but there's an NBA Finals going on in downtown OKC tomorrow night. So
snooze fest. Come on.
I thought you were paying tribute to Steph Curry.
See, now that's interesting. Do you think who do you think came up with that first, Steph Curry or CM Punk?
Ooh.
I mean, I think you're right. I think
what I may need to do this and ponder that answer.
All right. Well, by the way, we'll talk tomorrow night about the TV numbers. I have some suggestions that what they should do in the World Series, either tomorrow night or the World Series. But right, we've gone for a while.
Don't worry, they got some people. Some coaches have already provided some suggestions about what you do at the semifinals.
Oh boy,
we'll share that for later on today, because it is technically Thursday.
All right. Thanks again, Allison Benning, who was fantastic on the show. Thanks to all of you who tuned in on the show. We'll be back here tomorrow night, same channel, same place. The originals here, other people try to duplicate and do the stuff that we do, but we are what else is new? That's the ultimate compliment, I've been told. We'll be back tomorrow night. Will Texas win their first ever national title, or will Texas Tech force a game 3? We will talk about it tomorrow night after the game, or as Victor says, if you're in the Eastern time zone, later today. So for Victor Anderson, I'm Eric Lopez. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of In the Circle live special edition from the following the World Series. Texas wins game 1, 2-1 over Texas Tech.
Top podcast is out. Good night, everyone except Canada. Y'all stole game 1 from my Panthers.